Imagine driving down a dark, unfamiliar road, guided only by the soothing voice of your Google Maps app. You trust it implicitly, never questioning its directions. But what if that trust led you straight into danger? What if the technology we rely on daily could be responsible for a tragic loss of life? This is the true tragedy of Philip Paxson and the Snow Creek Bridge in North Carolina. On a rainy night in September 2022, Philip Paxton, a 47-year-old father of two, was driving home from his daughter's 9th birthday party. The celebration had been joyous, filled with laughter and the warmth of family. Little did anyone know that this would be the last time they'd see Philip alive. Paxson was relatively new to the area, having moved to Hickory, North Carolina just 2 years prior. Like many of us in unfamiliar territory, he relied heavily on his smartphone's navigation app, Google Maps, to guide him home. As the train pelted his windshield and darkness enveloped the roads, Paxton followed the app's instructions, turn by turn. But something was terribly wrong. The app was leading him down a treacherous path, one that would end in tragedy. As Paxton's car approached Snow Creek Bridge, there were no warning signs, no barriers to indicate danger ahead. The bridge, which had collapsed 9 years earlier in 2013, lay in wait like a deadly trap. Unaware of the peril that lay ahead, Paxton drove on, following the trusted voice of his GPS. In a horrifying moment, his vehicle plunged into the waters below. The car overturned, trapping Paxson inside. By the time emergency services arrived, it was too late. Philip Paxson, a loving father, husband, and medical device salesman, had drowned. The community was shocked. How could this happen? How could a navigation app used by millions daily lead someone to their death? As news of the tragedy spread, questions began to surface. Why hadn't Google Maps updated its information about the collapsed bridge? Why were there no physical warnings at the site? And most importantly, who was responsible for this devastating loss of life? To understand the full scope of this tragedy, we need to delve deeper into the world of GPS navigation and its impact on our daily lives. Google Maps, launched in 2005, has become an integral part of modern navigation. With over 1 billion users worldwide, it's the most popular mapping service available. We've come to rely on it for everything from finding the nearest coffee shop to navigating cross-country road trips. But with this reliance comes a critical question. What happens when the technology fails? Incidents related to GPS navigation errors are more common than we might think. While most are minor, a missed turn or an outdated road name, some can have severe consequences. In 2015, a woman in Brazil was shot and killed after her GPS directed her into a dangerous favela. In 2018, a bus carrying a university tennis team drove off a 50-foot embankment in North Carolina when the GPS misrouted them. These incidents raise serious questions about the legal responsibilities of navigation app providers. Are they liable when their directions lead to accidents or fatalities? The answer isn't straightforward. Navigation apps typically include disclaimers stating that they can't guarantee the accuracy of their information and that users should always obey traffic signs and local laws. However, critics argue that these disclaimers aren't enough, especially when the apps are marketed as reliable tools for navigation. In the case of road closures or construction, most navigation apps rely on a combination of official reports, user feedback, and algorithms to update their maps. Google Maps, in particular, uses a variety of sources, including satellite imagery, street view cars, and local guides to keep its information current. But the system isn't perfect, and errors can slip through the cracks. This brings us back to the tragic case of Philip Paxson and the Snow Creek Bridge. How did such a significant hazard, a collapsed bridge, remain undetected in Google's system for 9 years? The bridge had collapsed in 2013 due to heavy flooding. Local residents were aware of its condition, and some had even reported the issue to Google Maps. Yet, for reasons that remain unclear, the app continued to direct drivers across the non-existent bridge. In the wake of Paxson's death, his family sought answers. They couldn't understand how such a dangerous error could persist for so long. Their grief turned to anger as they realized that this tragedy could have been prevented. In September 2023, exactly 1 year after Paxson's death, his widow, Alicia Paxson, filed a lawsuit against Google. The suit alleges that Google had been informed of the bridge collapse on numerous occasions but failed to update its maps or provide warnings to drivers. The lawsuit states, quote, "For years, Google Maps had been directing motorists to cross the Snow Creek Bridge in question. This was despite the fact that the bridge had collapsed in 2013 and had never been repaired." End quote. Alicia Paxson's attorneys argue that Google had a duty to provide accurate and safe directions to its users. They claim that the company's failure to update its maps or warn drivers about the collapsed bridge directly led to Philip Paxson's death. The lawsuit also names other defendants, including Hickory Sand Company and 2 private property owners, alleging that they failed to properly warn drivers about the bridge's condition or block access to it. As news of the lawsuit spread, it reignited discussions about the responsibilities of tech companies and the potential dangers of over-reliance on technology. Many people shared their own experiences with GPS errors, some harmless, others frightening. The case also shed light on the complex process of maintaining accurate map data. Google Maps relies heavily on user reports to flag issues like closed roads or outdated information. But what happens when these reports fall through the cracks? And should we be relying so heavily on a system that depends on user input for critical safety information? Google's response to the lawsuit was cautious. A company spokesperson stated, quote, "We have the deepest sympathies for the Paxson family. Our goal is to provide accurate routing information in maps, and we are reviewing this lawsuit." End quote. This statement, while expressing sympathy, didn't address the core issue. Why wasn't the map updated despite reported information about the bridge collapse? As the legal battle unfolds, it raises important questions about the intersection of technology and public safety. Should navigation apps be held to the same standards as physical road signs? How can we balance the convenience of GPS technology with the need for up-to-date, accurate information? The tragedy of Philip Paxson is not just about one man's death. It's about the trust we place in technology and the potential consequences when that trust is misplaced. It's about the responsibility of tech giants to ensure the safety of their users. And it's about the need for better systems to update and verify critical information. As we await the outcome of the lawsuit, it's worth considering our own relationship with navigation technology. How often do we blindly follow GPS directions without question? How aware are we of our surroundings when we're in unfamiliar territory? The Snow Creek Bridge incident serves as a stark reminder that while technology can be an invaluable tool, it should never replace common sense and caution. It's a call for better oversight, more frequent updates, and clearer communication about potential hazards. For the Paxson family, no legal outcome can undo their loss. Alicia Paxson and her 2 daughters must now navigate life without their beloved husband and father. Their pain is a poignant reminder of the real-world consequences of technological failures. This was the true tragedy of Philip Paxson. Our hearts go out to the Paxson family for their unimaginable loss.